Hi there. So the purpose of my videos is to try to demystify key project management or interview tips to make it simple and relatable in your everyday language and in a way that you won't really forget it. So today's video, I am going to explain the difference between risk and issue management in a way that you will not forget. So what is a risk? A risk is something that hasn't happened yet. So let me make it even simpler. Let's imagine a scenario. Let's say you live in London and you have an interview in Scotland and you want to drive your car to that interview in Scotland, and to make it, you have to leave perhaps the day before. Now, the only thing is your car is an old car. It's not been serviced recently. And so there's a chance that it might not get you to safely to Scotland. It might break down on the way, or it just might not get you there in time. So that's a risk. Something, an event, something that might happen that can potentially impact you and impact you in a way that it may affect what you're trying to achieve. So very simplistically, so that's a risk. Let's assume that you decided that, you know what, I'm going to drive the car nonetheless. And you started driving the car somewhere on the M1, the motorway. The car breaks down. Your risk is no longer a risk, it's an issue. So an issue is something that has happened that is impacting you now. So in very simple terms, a risk is an event that has not happened, but if it does happen, it will impact you. An issue is happening now, it's impacting you now. So that's, in very simple terms, the difference between a risk and an issue. But there's a bit more detail beyond that. So in a project management setting, you hear about people say things like, what is the risk impact? What is the probability impact? You wouldn't be hearing about probability in issues, because probability is how likely is this thing to happen. By the very definition of an issue has already happened, so the probability statement doesn't even arise. So you wouldn't see something like a probability score on an issue. However, on a risk, because it hasn't happened, you will hear something like, what is the probability of this happening? And then most organizations then have a rating. Some people rate it from 1 to 10, with 10 being very likely and 1 being unlikely. So, or it may be as simple as 1 to 5, with 5 being most likely and 1 being unlikely. Most organizations have what they call a risk matrix, which defines the probability and impact score. And then on the basis of that risk matrix, which is usually a document or a table, you can just calculate and work out the risk score. And on the basis of the risk score, the organization decides how they will treat the risk. And there's a lot more level of detail around risk treatment mitigation. But again, this video is not designed to go to that level of detail. So apart from probability, you would hear a lot about things like an impact score. So if this risk does happen, what is the impact? So going back to the very example I gave you, if you decided to go ahead and drive that car to Scotland, what is the impact of that happening? What is the cost of that happening to you? What is the impact of that risk materializing into an issue? So that's when you hear about them talking about an impact score. Again, the impact score would typically be defined by the organization, and it'd be in a document. So you'd be able to look at the impact score and look at the probability score to be able to work out the risk score. Key point to note: an issue will not have a probability score because it's happening. It will have an impact score, and there's, as I said, other things that you need to take into consideration here, like how you manage the risk. But I could talk about that in another video. Hope you find this helpful. If you do, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. Send me your comments, send me your feedback, and let me know what you think. Thank you.